who's got free shuttle bus service, who has a 24-hour restaurant, that the other factors come into place. So always go back to your client's needs in terms of the guest who's going to stay in the room. Look at location, get as much information as the key places where a hotel sits, and then worry about what your amenities are. And it may be that some people will say, well, the location isn't important. We're at the corner of I-94 and I-201. But that, for someone, could be the key piece of information that makes them decide they want to stay there. When it comes to location and all components of your content, you need to be as unambiguous and as unmisleading as you possibly can. If you're showing photos of rooms and there are different rooms, do not show a suite photo for a standard guest room. If you have 3 kinds of guest rooms, wherever possible, you should have one photo of each of those different types, particularly if those can demonstrate how they differ. Again, if you're at the corner of Spruce and Main, make clear that you're at the corner of Spruce and Main in your location description. If you're near an amusement park, don't say near amusement park. Say 3 blocks from Disneyland, so that people have a very good idea of what they're actually looking at. Be complete. This is probably the hardest task anybody involved in database management or content optimization is going to face, because we're dealing with properties generally at a distance, so that you can't see what the lobby's like. You can't see what the restaurant is like or the rooms are like. You're depending on the property to provide the information as full a format as possible, which brings me back to what are called implementation kits. And implementation kits tend to try and squeeze down to the lowest common denominator, at least in my experience. They should always include room for extra information. We know that if you're looking for a seamless description, you're going to be limited in terms of line length. But you can preface the obtaining information about a seamless description by asking the hotel to fully describe their room, and then the experienced content managers can take that information and massage it into an effective seamless description, room description. So better implementation kits help. As part of the process, when you sign up a new reservation service client, ask for a copy of all the information that a guest is going to see in a room. There are frequently services or facilities that are outlined in that material that don't become obvious, aren't as important to the hotelier as they might be to the content manager. So get as much information as possible so that you know what dry cleaning service is available, whether if you're dealing with a budget property, they have meal delivery systems or programs that could be included in an HOD in a description of food service. And always remember that hotels don't necessarily know how the information is going to be used and why you're asking for it. So always give them the opportunity to ask questions and to give them the space to provide additional information. When you get this glob of information back from a hotel, you then have to turn it into attractive, sales-oriented phrasing. It may well be filled with hotel industry jargon and cryptic abbreviations that are going to sit in the PMS at some point, but may not be appropriate for an untrained eye or a travel agent who's reading an HOD, or a member of the public who may read an HOD. So always, again, the guests need in mind that they need to have attractive, easy to understand, easy to read information. Now, it is important if you're dealing with a brand or a representation service company brand in a general sense that you do all of your verbiage consistently. You make decisions consistently about how rooms are going to be displayed, for example, in the most expensive to the lowest, or from the least expensive to the highest in the HOD. And it always will be that way. Whether the coffee shop is always the first restaurant to be described and the higher end restaurants following, or vice versa. So that there's a consistency. The travel agents and other users get accustomed to seeing how you display the data, and it's always that way, so they aren't confused or don't quite understand. One of the issues with being sales-oriented and using appealing phrasing is that sometimes there's a tendency to go overboard. And I can remember reading a hotel description for a hotel in Las Vegas that, you know, went on, as you drive up to our fabulous portico and ascend from your limousine and proceed into the crystalline chandeliered lobby, you are met. There's a way of providing a sense of ambiance without going overboard. And you need the appealing sales language, but again, people are in a hurry. They want facts, but they want it done in an appealing way. So it's not a large guest room. It's a spacious, comfortable, inviting guest room. And when talking about guest rooms, always remember to differentiate your guest rooms in a way other than by their name. It is frustrating to go to a hotel and have standard, superior, deluxe, and they all read king or double bed or two double beds, 36-inch plasma TV, free Wi-Fi. Well, why would I pay $100 more for the deluxe room over the standard? They look identical. So find ways of differentiating categories of rooms. The hotel has probably made a decision why these rooms should be priced at a different base rate. Maybe the views, maybe the square footage, maybe the amenities, and you need to describe them in the HOD so that a customer can honestly see what the difference is. And again, I'll use an example of a major hotel in Toronto where I was going to stay personally, and there was $12 difference between one type of room and another, but no difference in what you received. And quite honestly, I mean, it's not it's only $12, but the tendency is I'm going to book the cheaper one. I can't see that there's any difference. I'm sure there is, but the guest needs to know what they are. And I apologize again if we're bouncing around a bit, but again, I'm trying to do a data dump here, and it may get a little confusing, and we can cover that in question. While we're talking about rooms, be very, very careful in seamless descriptions how your lines end, because I've seen thousands of seamless descriptions where one line ends in hair because there wasn't enough room for dryer. Also, be very careful not to put hotel facilities in the seamless description. It can, again, look somewhat silly, and this is an actual instance where I read a seamless description and the room was listed with a 100-car indoor garage. So again, separate those things out that are services for the hotel for everyone, no matter what the room, from what specifically you're going to get in this seamless room type. I'm just going to go over my notes here for a minute to make sure that I don't forget anything. Dates. Don't use dates in any of your content unless you absolutely positively have to. And we're talking here about descriptive data. If a restaurant is closed and you need to say the restaurant is closed, okay, you need a date. But you will find from time to time that special policies are put into effect that actually are in effect forever, but that people will put dates on them, and it just reads in a strange way. Plus, you have the whole problem of having to go back and revise those dates when the dates become inappropriate. The places to put dates, by and large, I would say, is if a normal facility is closed, include those dates, and then the person who's responsible for that database management needs to get a date in Outlook where they can go back, check with the hotel, make sure that that facility is now open again, and go in and make that change. We also want to hesitate from putting in a hotel description or a room description things like the hotel was extensively revised in renovated in 2012. Only because in 2015 that becomes less of a selling point. If we can just leave it to this renovated property or this, $2 million renovation program, refresh this property, that's a bit better. If the renovation is so significant that it will make a difference, then again it becomes like a facility being closed. You have to go back and manage those dates so that I think at one point someone said that renovations last 7 years. So if you said in 2000, and the hotel was renovated in 2012, by 2015 it's certainly stale, and by 2019 it will cause chuckles amongst people who are reading that data. All right, now I am, bring us to another point, of course, review hotel content at least every 3 months to make sure that the data that's there is still accurate and that dates can be brought out or things can be updated. So now I'm going to move on to a SABRE HOD as a generic discussion in a more logical way of how we need to manage the information. The first area of confusion in the SABRE HOD, and I'm sure in others, is what's called the short location. That's see, I think it's 19-character display that is not derived from any classification of the hotel, but rather by entering a specific data field. So wall designations like downtown, airport, resort are ones that most GDS companies insert in a description based on checkboxes. Sabre has this unique situation where they have a short description, and it's the one that falls adrift most often. Frequently, I'll see implementation programs that identify the short location as the nearest site of local interest. It shouldn't be thought of that way. It should be the major physical location that might make it more likely that your hotel will be selected. So if you're next door to a convention center, by convention center. Main Street, on the beach, 2 blocks to beach, near outlet mall. What if somebody said to the hotelier, what is the one thing in your area that if you were associated with, you might be able to get more guests booking your hotel? That's the short location. But again, we need to be accurate. It doesn't do any good to say near Disneyland if you're 15 miles away.
Are these different fields? Do they vary by GDS provider?
Yes. Sabre is the only one that has a short location. The others all use what I call checkboxes. You go in and you select your downtown, by the highway, or in a suburb, or you're a resort, or you're on the beach, and they use that to identify your hotel type and location type. But the reason I'm discussing, and most people have no problem with those check boxes, because you can sit and say, am I on a highway? Am I downtown? Am I on the beach? Or whatever classification is. And you know, you can in some cases tick 2 or 3, but people don't have an issue with it. The big issue has always been in getting data from hotel companies is the Sabre short location is about as poorly used field that you can see. You will have people who, as an example, will say it's the Toronto Deluxe Hotel in Toronto, and the short location is Toronto. Well, the travel agent's already searched on the airport code for Toronto. You've identified yourself twice already as being a hotel in Toronto. Take advantage of this other field to say, by Eaton Center. That is an extra opportunity to sell where you are. I worked for a while doing database optimization for a budget hotel company in Hawaii. Every one of their Waikiki hotels in the short location said Waikiki, even though their name might be the XYZ Waikiki Hotel. The better way to advertise them is 1 block to beach, 2 blocks to beach, so that people got a better idea of, you're in Waikiki, great. Now, how far am I going to be? And this data appears without a travel agent having to search through a lot of data to find. It's foremost in displays. Okay. And again, some of this is just stream of consciousness, so bear with me. I'm just going through the HOD printout. Another area of confusion relates to extra person, rollaway, and crib charges, and the difference between 0 and NA. And again, hotels frequently will put 0 in, meaning no charge, when they mean what they mean is we don't have them, or an extra person is not permitted. So if rollaways are not available, you don't put 0, you put NA. And if a rollaway's crib charge is not available, don't put 0, because that will make people assume that they can get a crib for no charge. And some of this is simple, but it's just, these are the things that I've seen in 20 years that people have a problem with. Parking, if you have a parking fee, in the parking designator, say what the fee is. If not, say free. It helps when you use check-in and check-out times, always use the 2400-hour clock. Make sure in all the GDSs that you have as many property, facility, services indicators checked as you can at the maximum. And that probably needs to be reviewed at least once a year for people, for hotels that who have been implemented and then have changed facilities and services along the way without necessarily understanding that there are other fields. They may not, or they may identify in the course of a year that, oh, now they have free Wi-Fi, but that indicator was never checked initially, and free Wi-Fi may have been added to all the descriptive content, but the indicator for free Wi-Fi hasn't been changed.
Excuse me, are a lot of these fields, are they, like you mentioned with either 0 or NA, or, you know, put the parking charge or put the word free, are a lot of them just kind of open to whatever data you put in them? It doesn't necessarily have to be a number, or necessarily does not have to be text.
They vary.
They vary.
They vary. Some you have no choice. You have to put in some cases it's an on-off switch. You either have or you don't. In others, what you're doing in the data management software or the GDS gives you the option, again, of putting in 0 or not available. And those are, again, a toggle. But people select the wrong toggle so that they'll tick 0 when what they really mean is not available. In other areas, like parking, for instance, in Sabre, that's a completely open field. It's restricted by character length, but you could put whatever wording would fit in those 17 characters or whatever. Okay, let's, again, we talked earlier about being consistent and being presenting the information in an organized fashion. One of the ways you can do that is, under your policy requirements, always have the same information in the same order. And it doesn't really matter what order that is, but it should always be the same. So family plan, if you decide that this is the way you want to do it, family plan would always come first. Pet policy would always come second. Late checkout policy would come third. Then you deal with the required fields of cancellation, deposit, and guarantee. And again, always attempt to do those in a logical manner, and always include as much information in every one of them that you can. If your cancel policy is reservations cancellations must be received by 6 p.m., under guarantee, it doesn't hurt to say rooms, no credit card is required for guests arriving prior to 6 p.m. However, please note rooms canceled after 6 p.m. are subject, refer back and forth in those categories so that people understand what one other policy may impact them in relation to this policy. Because a travel agent, for example, can look only at guarantee and not have to look at deposit or cancellation. So that if there is an important piece of information you want to have in those fields, or have that's in one field that you want to have all guests aware of or all travel agents aware of, make sure it's in all. So if your cancellation policies vary with your deposit policies and you're outlining those deposit policies, say for instance there's a special event. March Madness is going to be in Nashville, and every hotel in Nashville has a restriction on those dates in March that all hotels require, all rooms require a deposit, and it's only 50% refundable 2 weeks out. Under cancellation, you should also say that during this period, special cancellation policies apply, and explain that during this period, 50% of all rooms revenues would be forfeited for people who cancel less than 2 weeks out, for example. All right. Property information. Property type, again, are the sort of checkbox fields, but always be certain that you've got the right checkbox. Again, dealing with a large budget chain who consistently didn't select a full-service hotel, even though they had a restaurant and every other service that somebody would want in a hotel. They rated themselves as limited service, and that didn't help them at all. The description, we've always worked in a pattern that is consistent, that starts with mentioning the hotel name at the beginning, and again reinforcing the location, any other particularly special service or facility at the hotel that would attract people immediately, like, for example, let's use the XYZ Hotel is located a half a mile from Phoenix Airport. Our free shuttle service is available 24 hours a day. Rooms, and again, you might 24-hour restaurant facilities, windows with extra sound sounding proofing. Then, as you move through, talk about the hotel more generically in the number of rooms, any facilities, swimming pool, restaurants, business centers that the hotel happens to have. Third paragraph, rooms, again, what types of rooms, what special rooms you have, if you have club or business style rooms, And then as a final paragraph, any more additional location information that can expand the attractiveness beyond the primary location. So, for example, with the one I just talked about, we're half a mile from the Phoenix airport in the first paragraph. In the final paragraph, we're within 2 miles of 50 major corporate headquarters, easy access to shopping, and across the street from the Casa Grande Pueblo Monument. So that people, in the first paragraph, you talk about what's exceedingly special, what makes the property the most valuable for a guest. You expand on that in terms of hotel facilities and services in the second, rooms in the third, and then fourth, go back and talk more about location bonus features, so to speak. One of the things that is evident out there is that some websites are capable of reading the first X number of characters of the Sabre hotel description, and that sales pitch is important because of that. Now, moving on to facilities. Again, most hoteliers have no problem completing an implementation packet that identifies their facilities. If the implementation packet has properly identified what's a facility versus what's a service. And facilities tend to be physical locations, a coffee shop, a gift shop, laundromats, garages, game room, meeting rooms, restaurants. And then services are those things you need someone to do, like room service, valet parking, business services, pickup calls, 24-hour front desk. If you have meeting and convention facilities and your content management software and your content management program permits it, the meeting and convention facilities descriptions should be under facilities. If you're doing it all freehand, you can go into GDSs and under facilities plug in meeting and convention facilities. And I'd highly recommend it, even if you've got one meeting room, and to sell it as a, perfect for small, if it's perfect for small meetings, luncheons, whatever. So that people, again, who are organizing a family reunion know that the hotel's got a meeting room that they might be able to use as a hospitality center or whatever. Dining. There's been a tendency in the last little while, I'd say, to make these as short and cryptic as possible. I think that's a mistake. I think they need to be useful. They need to have hours of operations, meals served, and some information about what type of food or variety of menu a guest can expect. I think people are using it more to identify special things. I can think of vegetarians going and trying to understand, does the restaurant have vegetarian options? Am I going to have an on-site, again, a woman traveler, am I going to have an on-site restaurant, or do I have to go across the parking lot or down the street to get something to eat? Ways to overcome the fact that you don't have on-site restaurants is under dining you can input information about the restaurant in the parking lot or any dining in programs, the food service delivery programs that your hotels might participate in. Again, the budget chain in Hawaii had a program called Meals in Paradise, and it was a dial-in. You called up, they pulled from various numbers of restaurants and delivered meals to rooms in much the same way that room service would. So while they didn't have any in-hotel, restaurant facilities are able to clearly help the guest to understand, yes, we don't, but we offer something that may be entirely suitable for you. So again, mention all the restaurants, the hours of operation, the meals served, and the types and variety of menus. If you have on-site bars, again, briefly, hours of operation, is it casual, is it upscale, is it sophisticated? So again, people know what to expect. We were recently in Napa at a hotel that we thought had a really casual bar, and turned up and it's like one of the in spots to have a beverage after work in Napa, and we were in our jeans and t-shirts and looked a little out of place. So it's helpful information to know, again, for the guest. Recreation. If you've got a fitness center, please outline all that. A swimming pool, the hours of operation for the swimming pool, if it's heated, if there's a way to arrange for sightseeing tours through the concierge or the front desk, talk about that. Safety. There's a problem in providing, and this may sound counterintuitive, too much safety information. When you have, and again, it depends to some extent on whether or not you're using content management software. But some of those software systems will allow you to check 24-hour security, armed security, security patrols, and hoteliers do. They check every one of them, and then they're displayed. And I think most people react, oh my God, why do they have so much security? What's wrong with this hotel that they have to have armed guards, security patrols, closed-circuit television cameras, and on and on? Pick the most important ones for the hotel. Security staff's fine. You don't have to then continue to talk about security patrols and all the other stuff. You don't want to create the impression that the guest is going to an unsecure location, but you want them to know that there's a level of security there that meets the needs of the average guest. And again, the things that are important for the guest are the in-room security facilities, view holes, key cards, latch doorways, interior hallway, corridors, those things. You can go overboard on in-room security, but it's harder to do than hotel general security. Be circumspect in how many of those security items you check. Room descriptions. There are really unlimited space in Sabre particularly to include as much information as you possibly can. Even the most limited of the GDSs, I think, give you 99 lines, which is a lot of lines in which you can describe your hotel's rooms. Again, to go back to the point at the beginning, differentiate each room type. Always have your room types in a similar order so that travel agents and other users can say, okay, fine. They always list the most expensive rooms. So I'll scroll down. Or they always put the cheapest rooms first. Include descriptions of every room that's available for sale, even if they are on request. It again facilitates the travel agent or the other user, if they're interested in a suite and their suites are on request, or you must contact the hotel directly, but the information in the HOD will provide the guest frequently with enough information that they know that it's worth making that phone call. It also saves time at the hotel's end if somebody already knows the basics of what that suite looks like, whether it has a full bath and a half bath, a living room, a dining room, and a bedroom. They don't have to ask those questions when they make the phone call. Same as differentiating your rooms, you need to differentiate the suites that are available. If there's a different price for a room or a different price for a suite, I point out why these rooms merit that difference. So you go back and you have a standard room that might say lower floors or ground floor, queen bed, side chair, and again, I'm not talking about what the description back like, but the things that you might cover in that description. Side chair, work desk, 250 square feet. The superior might say upper floor, 2 queen beds, large work desk, 2 side chairs, small table, 300 square feet. Deluxe room, corner rooms on upper floor, 1 king bed, love seat, large work desk, 350 square feet. Then suites, you'd have a junior suites, extra large room, combined sitting and sleeping area, 1 king bed. 1 bedroom suite, deluxe 1 bedroom suite, located on a high floor, separate living room with dining area, 1 king bed, spacious marble bathroom. Standard king suite, living room with 2 sofas, king bed, smaller shower, and smaller square footage. So some way they can understand the value in the pricing of why they should go to the next one conceivably. Oh, I want the dining area, so I'm not going to get the standard suite. I have to get the deluxe suite. Room amenities, again, include everything you possibly can. Again, these are check-offs. You either have them or, it's a button, yes, yes, I have these. In SAFER, the next area is location and area transportation. And again, the short location gets redisplayed, and you have an opportunity in some detail to talk about the location. And this can be the 4th paragraph from the hotel description, or you can expand it to talk at even greater length about the hotel. And I've got one example here. Our hotel is located just off Highway 402 at the corner of Miller Road. The Our Hotel Convention Center is directly across the street and near the downtown. Our town restaurant district is a short 10-minute drive away, as is the XYZ airport. The location offers easy access to a number of local corporate offices and industrial sites. And our town fun zone amusement park is only a 15-minute drive. So again, hit as many of the why is somebody coming to this hotel, or why potentially they should be coming to this hotel. If you've got under attractions or corporate locations in Sabre, locations that you are prime drivers for that hotel, they should be in that location description. So if the hotel says 50% of our corporate business comes from IBM, you should talk about we're 10 minutes from IBM's Our Town location. Transportation, if there's free shuttle service anywhere, include it. If it's airport shuttle or downtown shuttle, need to know. Include information about what the cost of a taxi ride is. As you know, my husband, John, travels a great deal. The other day, he was in an area north of San Diego, landed at San Diego Airport. The hotel had no information about what it would cost for a taxi. He just assumed, oh, how far could it be? Well, it was an $80 cab ride. So if you can give an approximate fare, and we're just talking benchmarks here, there's a difference between a $5 cab ride, a $20 cab ride, or a $50 cab ride. If there are rental car companies, a desk in your hotel, or nearby car rental facilities, include that. So if there's an enterprise office, you know, a half mile down the street, and the hotel runs complimentary shuttle in the area, you can do a tremendous service for your guests by saying, we offer complimentary shuttle service to the enterprise office just down the road from us. And directions. Always include a direction from the airport. Sabre recently, well, not so recently now, has done this from the north, from the west, from the east, from the south. I am not a big fan of those. They can sometimes present problems. I would say most people are quite content using their iPhone or their iPad to find a location and driving instructions. But quick, you know, indication of directions from the airport or from some other, cruise ship dock or whatever, may be helpful. And then, as I said, include all attractions in corporate locations that the GDIS requires you to put in. Include at least the minimum, as many as you can would be better. Now, let me just go over my notes and see if there is anything I haven't gone through. Okay. Well, I think I've done what I can. There's probably more information to be picked from my brain. If you want to ask some questions, that'd be great.
Okay, let me unmute it here for a minute. Do this quickly. Anybody in the room have a question? Want to open up the room? Go ahead.
Susan.
Hi.
Question. When you go back to the date, many times when a hotel is historical or let's say which is historical, hotels include that in their database. So back, I mean, is that something you would, I mean, just in general terms?
No, I think it's a selling point.
Okay.
If you have a property that's historic, you should include that designation. I can't remember, again, off the top of my head, if it does, but I do believe at least one other one does, maybe Amadeus.
Okay.
And you should do that, again, in the hotel description. If it's National Registry of Historic Places, certainly include it. If there, again, there's that paragraph, what makes your hotel special, that second paragraph, that's the perfect place to talk about historic landmark, you know, famous since the days of Clark Gable, and, you know, presidents have attended, you know, that's the perfect spot for it. And again, if you think about guests looking for a location, I want to go somewhere, and then they want to differentiate properties, it's a great way to differentiate a property by saying, yeah, you can pick the whatever over on the highway, but we're this historic hotel that's intertwined with the culture of the city, and this makes this an experience.
And then what about the renovations for that? Just going into, you know, shades of gray?
Well, the only information, you know, in that situation, I would say this hotel's been, if it has been remodeled, say this is the hotel, well, it's historic, it's been remodeled to meet the exacting standards of today. The problem comes in when you say the hotel was renovated in 2008.
Gotcha.
But you can, there are ways of talking about these things that are honest, but put the best foot forward on what you've got. For instance, you've got a historic hotel with thin walls, poor bathrooms, and hasn't been really that renovated. It hasn't been brought up to the standard. And you can talk about the amenities that are now a component of it by saying it's, you know, retained its historic charm, and doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a modern hotel, yet while preserving the historic charm, we're still able to offer you free Wi-Fi. I mean, people can understand historic charm and are willing to, if that's what they want in their travel experience, they'll take it.
Thank you.
But don't get in, the problem when you, because renovations get dated, I would be happy to call a hotel renovated if it's more than a certain number of years old, and have done with that.
For those others on the line, if you have a question, please use your control panel on the right of your screen and click the raise your hand icon. I tried to unmute it for everybody, but there's too many people having side conversations, so I had to mute everybody back again. But if you have a question, please raise your hand. Then we'll unmute you so you can answer your call. Huh? Where is it? I don't see it. Where's the hand? Where's the hand? What's that? They raise their hand by clicking. Well, I don't have one, but there's a button like this that they would raise their hand, and this is their hands right here. Oh, did you notice that? Is that what you're talking about? I didn't understand over here. Special. Many questions in the room? Okay. Anyone else on the line? Questions on the left. Let me get Becky here. Hang on, Becky. Go. Okay, Becky, go ahead. Okay, never mind. She answered it for herself.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
For Becky.
Becky, you still there? Unmute yourself. Okay. No mic. No microphone. Then why'd you raise your hand? You want to come in the room? You want to come in the conference room and ask you a question? What Becky is asking says, I think I heard you say that travel agents only see the GTD policy. Therefore,
no, they can search under, they can just go in and key in a message that says, show me the guarantee policy. They aren't required, although they get displays that give them an abbreviated version of those policies. They aren't required to view the full policy section. They can just look at the deposit or guarantee. When there's a significant policy related to or exception, that's a better way of thinking. If there's a significant exception to guarantee, deposit, or cancellation, any of those, that information should be repeated in the other. So for instance, if there's a deposit policy that impacts cancellation, you should mention under as well as under deposit, you say there's a checking deposit and it says the deposit's required for a certain day, and that it has a 50% cancellation fee. Under cancellations, you should also say that there's this exception to the normal cancellation policy that means that if you stay during certain dates, you're required to make a certain deposit, and that the cancellation policy is 50% non-refundable, just to make certain that they don't overlook it.
Did you answer all of it?
Almost. I understand exactly what you're saying, Judy. Well, let me ask it a different way.
Okay.
Okay, as you was explaining to us, we know that our CRS, we have to load the guarantee policy and the cancellation separate.
Right.
Okay, but whenever we send the GDS information out to publish the GDSs in Sabre, the information is sent out in the HOD. So, so if we're putting the guarantee information and the cancellation, because I know you told us at one time the travel agents only look at the guarantee and we didn't need to be redundant. You know, we didn't need to duplicate the work.
But the only issue if you have standard guarantee cancellation deposit statements, there's no reason. You should only be talking about deposits under deposits. You should only be talking about cancellations under cancellations. And you should only be talking about guarantee under guarantee. But when there are exceptions that impact the other field, so for instance, when you have an exception to your cancellation that might impact, well, I'm trying to think about how the best way is to think about a deposit.
Okay.
When you have an exception in the deposit policy that says if you stay here March 4th to 10th, you have to submit a credit card deposit of 1 night, and that deposit is non-refundable after February the 3rd, or February the 3rd.
I understand.
In cancellations, you should say, this is the normal cancellation policy. There is an exception from March so-and-so to March so-and-so. During this period, a deposit's required and cancellations must be received. But you're absolutely right. You should not be repeating deposit policies under guarantee and cancellation policies under deposits.
Unless there's a special event or a special restriction.
Right.
I totally agree. I understand. I just wanted to make sure we were clear, and it sounded so good. We were like, well, should we start doing something different? So we just want to make sure.
It is just exceptions.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Judy.
Okay. Thank you, Judy. Anyone else have any questions on the line? If you would, if you do, just raise your hand on the control panel. Well, Judy, I think that's all. I think that's all the questions we have.
Wonderful. If people have other questions and come up and, after approach you about, we're not quite sure about what she meant, just send me an email. I'll be happy to answer them.
Okay.
Okay.
We get your email?
Yeah, so I have your email at judy@burns-htc.com.
That's it.
You ready? Yeah, so judy@burns-htc.com. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you
so much for your time, Judy. It's much
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.